Welcome to Thinking on Chain, the podcast that unchains your thinking. This is the space where ideas stretch, breathe, and break free from the ordinary. I am your host, Byron. If you would like to read today's essay or download a PDF version, you will find it at my website, thinkingонchain.com. I am grateful you have decided to join me. The title of today's essay is The Value of Nurses. The significance of nurses in society is not only immeasurable, but foundational. Their worth is immense, their merit indispensable, their value consequential. It is the quiet architecture beneath every functioning health system, every recovery, every dignified death, every moment when fear gives way to understanding. Nursing is the discipline that stands at the threshold between vulnerability and possibility. Nurses do not simply perform tasks, they enact a philosophy of presence. They treat, yes, but they also witness. They advocate, but they also translate the unspoken. They educate, yet they also restore coherence when illness fractures a person's world. They console, counsel, protect, guide, not as a list of duties, but as a continuous moral posture toward the suffering of others. In a society obsessed with measurable outcomes, nursing persists as a reminder that the most essential forms of care resist quantification. A nurse's work is the paradox of being both ordinary and sacred. The hand on a shoulder, the explanation that dissolves fear, the vigilance that prevents catastrophe, the dignity preserved when no one else is looking. If medicine is the science of healing, nursing is its conscience. Nurses have never been uncertain about their worth. Their value is etched into every life they steady, every fear they soften, every moment they hold when no one else will. What has begun to fray is not their sense of purpose, but the world's ability to perceive it. Healthcare organizations, clinicians, and society at large have grown accustomed to the quiet heroism of nursing, so accustomed that they mistake constancy for abundance and compassion for an infinite resource. But even the most steadfast light can be overlooked when people forget to look up. A reminder, then, is not merely appropriate, it is necessary. Not to inflate what nurses are, but to restore what has been allowed to them. The recognition that care is not a commodity, that presence is not replaceable, and that the moral architecture of health care rests on the shoulders of those who refuse to turn away from suffering. When we ask whether CEOs or executives value nursing, we are really asking something more fundamental. Can those who operate at a distance from suffering recognize the worth of those who stand directly in its presence? Nursing is embodied, relational, moment to moment work. Leadership is abstract, strategic, future oriented work. The two operate on different planes of reality. So the questions become, do CEOs accept the value of nursing? Acceptance requires acknowledgement, but acknowledgement requires understanding. Many leaders see nursing through metrics, staffing ratios, productivity, cost centers, because that is the language their world speaks. But nursing's true value lives in the unmeasurable trust, vigilance, interpretation, presence. A leader who sees only the measurable sees only the shadow of nursing, not its substance. Do hospital executives understand the true value of nursing? Understanding demands proximity. Executives who walk the units, listen without defensiveness, and witness the moral labor of nurses can begin to understand. Those who remain insulated by dashboards and quarterly reports cannot. Understanding is not an intellectual act, it is an ethical one. Are healthcare leaders willing to honor the value of nurses? Honor is not a sentiment. Honor is expressed through structure, safe staffing, fair compensation, psychological safety, shared governance, investment in education, protection from moral injury. If these are absent, then honor is absent, no matter what speeches are given during Nurses Week. Is nursing given the place it deserves by those in power? This is the most piercing question, because the place nursing deserves is not ornamental, it is foundational. Yet, in many systems, nursing is treated as a cost to be minimized rather than a capacity to be cultivated. Healthcare depends on nursing, but the structures of healthcare often fail to reflect that dependence. It is the paradox of an indispensable profession living inside a system that has not yet learned how to value what cannot be commodified. When nurses join forces to demand to be valued, honored, and protected, it is not an act of self interest. It is an act of moral clarity. Because nursing is not a profession that can be separated from the well being of patients. To advocate for the conditions nurses need is to advocate for the conditions patients deserve. Nursing advocacy is inherently patient centered. Nurses are the sentinels of patient safety. When nurses speak up about staffing, workload, moral injury, or unsafe environments, they are speaking on behalf of the people whose lives depend on them. And nurses' working conditions are a patient's healing conditions. Nurses experience the consequences of system failures first. Executives see trends. Nurses see harm. They see the fall that could have been prevented, the medication error waiting to happen, the family drowning in confusion. Their advocacy is rooted in proximity to suffering, not personal gain. To honor nurses is to honor the ethical core of healthcare. Nursing is the discipline that holds the system accountable to its promises. When nurses demand respect, they are demanding that healthcare live up to its own moral commitments. Collective action is a form of professional integrity. It's not rebellion, it's, it is stewardship. It is the profession saying, we cannot provide the care our patients deserve unless the system honors the value of our labor. The call for value is a call for alignment between what patients need, what nurses know, what leaders choose, what systems prioritize. When nurses unite, they are trying to close the gap between the rhetoric of patient centered care and the reality of it. Nurses asking to be valued is not a plea for praise, it is a demand for the structural conditions that allow them to uphold their ethical duty. It is, in the purest sense, an act of care. Nurses are often spoken of as heroes, and in many ways they are. But heroism, when projected onto human beings, can become a double edged sword. It can inspire admiration, yes, but it can also obscure the truth that even the strongest among us can break. Nurses are not exception. They are human beings who carry extraordinary burdens, the emotional weight of suffering, the moral strain of impossible choices, the physical exhaustion of relentless labor. There comes a point, sometimes quiet, sometimes catastrophic, when even the most resilient nurse reaches the edge of their endurance. A moment when the body trembles, the spirit falters, and the knees buckle. And yet, astonishingly, nurses rise, not because they are superhuman, but because they are profoundly human. Because their commitment is woven from something deeper than duty, something like devotion to the communities they serve. They stand ready, ready to heal, ready to console, ready to advocate, ready to guide, ready to educate, but also, crucially, ready to fight for their value. This is not defiance, it is fidelity to the truth of their work. When nurses insist on being valued, they are not seeking applause. They are illuminating a reality that those in power often fail to see, that the entire healthcare system rests on their shoulders, on their vigilance, on their capacity to hold together what illness threatens to unravel. Some leaders lack the vision to perceive this. Some lack the sight to recognize the moral labor nurses perform. Some lack the awareness to understand that without nursing, the system collapses, not metaphorically, but literally. So nurses rise not only to care, but to bear witness, to show through unity and voice the magnitude of what they carry, to remind those in power that the strength of healthcare is not built in boardrooms, it is built at the bedside. And when nurses stand together, they are not only defending themselves, they are defending the very possibility of safe, humane, dignified care. Thank you.